As an athlete, injuries are world altering. When they happen, Lord willing, not too often, a lot of things change, especially in your day-to-day. Handling all this sudden change makes injuries not just a physical challenge to overcome, but a mental one as well. About a week ago, I got injured during our first Basketball Champions League qualifier match. I was playing well, my team had control of the game, and then boom, everything changed. It wasn't a severe injury, but it was enough to sideline me for a few weeks. The momentum and rhythm I have established so far early in the season is going to have to pause. I have to adapt, the plan has to change. Adjusting to all this is difficult, and if you have experienced any sort of injury before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So instead of the previously scheduled game day vlogs I had for all of us, I wanted to share with you how my days have changed and how I have navigated the daily mental battle that accompanies any sort of injury. Before we get into this vlog, I want to share kind of my heart behind making this video. Injuries suck, injuries are isolating, and injuries take the joy out of basketball for anyone playing. So my hope for sharing my experiences with injuries as a current pro basketball player is that maybe one of you guys feel less alone or less isolated. Yeah, I just want to get that out of the way, clear that up, be straightforward with you guys, and yeah, let's get back to the vlog. It has been about a week since my injury occurred, and already I missed the game more than you can imagine. I don't have the privilege of waking up and brainstorming how I'm going to get better at practice today. Well, actually, I still kind of do, but the perspective has had to shift a bit. Now, currently, my focus has changed from how to improve 1% at basketball to now how to best recover. This is important to note in order to highlight the difficult but necessary priority adjustment from basketball to now recovery that is required to come back at my best. Whether your injury rehab is projected to take 3 days or 3 months, you need to make this perspective shift. Normally, when practicing and playing, I like my breakfast to be packed with carbs and calories so that I can have fast-releasing energy in my high-intensity morning team practice. But now, with my injury, I need to restructure my diet a bit. The idea is that my diet should mirror my work output. Since I know my first workout of the day will not be high intensity, it's mainly going to be rehab and upper body lift, I'll choose less calorically dense foods like eggs and berries to provide quality nutrients without the surplus of carbs. When injured, it's a constant battle to not allow your disappointment and frustration to jade your daily perspective. I tend to feel myself choosing the pessimistic view on things, focusing on how wrong things are rather than how right things are. A lot of the time, it shows up in how I view small inconveniences, like this broken egg yolk on the egg flip or these spilled coffee pods. When in that pessimistic mindset, stuff like this irks me. For me, it's a constant battle of reframing, but one that is totally worth fighting because I believe that what we focus on tends to materialize in our lives. So there's power in striving to focus on what is right because things will start to move in that direction. See the good in the situation and more good will happen. See the bad and you get the picture. Of course, in poetic fashion, it was pouring down rain here in Lisbon while I myself was managing some rainy thoughts of my own. After breakfast and my simple morning routine, I headed to the practice facility for my first workout of the day. When injured and on a professional team, it is expected that you are still at the team practice supporting the team, even if you're injured. This means that you have to schedule time with the training staff outside of team practice time for your treatment and individual rehab workouts. I'm lucky that the staff here at Benfica are very flexible and unselfish in their availability to help, but the point is I'm going to be here at the practice facility a lot today. I arrived to the facility around 10:30 for treatment and an extensive injury rehab workout. With my calf injury, I am past the acute injury phase, meaning that the initial damage of the injury has calmed down and now it's time to begin strengthening the supporting muscles. A lot of young athletes do not fully understand these sort of phases of injury rehab, and this is part of the reason that we see a lot of re-injuries or chronic injuries in young athletes. And listen, it took me a long time to grasp this recovery phases concept, and it is probably the reason I broke the same foot in college 3 times. So in hopes of saving you some unnecessary injury trauma, I will quickly outline them for you here. First phase is the acute injury. This is the moment you get hurt, the swelling, the pain, etc. This is the actual injury. Phase 2 is the rebuilding equilibrium phase. This is where you want to balance both sides of your body in terms of range of motion and strength. Phase 3 is the basic movement progression. This is doing all the movements that you would do in a game or in a practice, but without pain. Now, phase 4, this is when you start doing those basic movements more in game-like scenarios and drills, simulating those actual movements, but without outside variables. And then phase 5, you get into live practice where you're competing against your teammates, but still not an opponent. Then, of course, phase 6 is returning to a game and playing an opponent. This is when you're going to be at max capacity. This is a very rough outline, and the time spent on each phase differs depending on injury, sport, and the individual athlete. But the importance is that you respect that there is a necessary progression and not skip phases. Okay, so I did the calf work, the rehab for my injury. Now it's time to lift upper body, shoulder rehab, knee rehab. It's like I'm gonna be here for hours, but it is what it is, life of an injured player. As a professional athlete, I am treated as not just an athlete, but an asset. Smart clubs like the one I am now want their assets to be fully healthy before exposing them to risk again. Clubs need to make smart financial decisions, and the more games a player can produce at a high level and contribute to winning, the better the financial decision is. Sadly, in a good amount of professional European leagues, clubs will often find ways to force their players to play through injury, often at the detriment of the player's long-term health, so their investment can look good in the short-term season. Understanding the necessary phase progression of injury rehab can help raise mental red flags when a team seems to be acting in their best interest and not yours when it comes to your physical health. Later, I checked in on who was at the court for shooting practice, and it made me a little sad that I couldn't go shoot, but I gotta stay on my plan. Absolutely sickening that my man Thiago would cheat on me like this. Shameful. For my shoulder and knee rehab, we strengthened the surrounding muscles in order to support the two areas of chronic pain. I had to sneak around the weight room a bit because it was not my team's scheduled time there, so I wasn't able to show you most of this workout. That being said, the meat and potatoes of this workout was the blood flow restriction, or BFR, burnout at the end. The idea behind the BFR is to get the same strength gains without overloading your joints with heavy weight. These workouts are unbelievably hard, but I feel much better a few days after. This machine is literally from the devil himself. Torture device. All right, last set of 15. When I tell you I can't feel my leg, look at this. It's like changing colors. And the crazy part is I'm using the minimum weight. So this is only 5 kilos and I can barely move. Now, once done with my first workouts, I make sure to get in my protein shake and vitamins to give my muscles necessary nutrients to rebuild. I don't change my supplements during an injury, but I do make sure to be consistent and disciplined because their importance is even more heightened during injury. The sun's starting to come out, so I'm talking about Lisbon. Sick of this rain, this storm. Gotta run across the street. Now you can tell the sun helped my mood as I headed back home to make a big lunch and relax for a bit. When injured, there is a constant back and forth needed between complete rest and active recovery. It is important to not sit around and do nothing the whole time, but it's also equally as important to still allow the rehab work to set in and rebuild. When not playing basketball, I find myself getting antsy and feeling like I am falling behind. This is a normal feeling, but one that does not serve my healing process. As I mentioned before, your perspective on what is most important needs to shift from your sport to your recovery. This will allow you to calm down and continue to progress forward day by day. My daily intention journal helps me internalize this perspective change. Today, while waiting on my steak to cook, I set my intentions. Today, they were simple: to be present and consistent. If you haven't tried a daily intention journal exercise, I would highly recommend it. If you want my daily intention journal template set to you in a PDF, the link will be in the description of this video. I decided to make a bigger lunch than normal today based off the sheer amount of time I had already spent training and the small number of calories I had consumed. Sadly, I'm still no Guy Ferrari and the steak was totally overcooked. Another inconvenience that a pessimist mindset could have fixated on. Couldn't allow that to be me no matter how tired and exhausted I was already, because I knew the hardest part of the day was still to come. I already know everybody's gonna be hating in the comments saying how I overcooked this steak. I'm not gonna lie, this is definitely white people steak. I'm not a steak expert. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm trying my best to eat clean. We'll see on this steak. I'm not proud of it. Hey, no hate in the comments. Don't be hating now. I'm not claiming I'm Gordon Ramsay, but this steak was decent. All natural. No extras, simple, good food when you're injured, not eating a lot of carbs. I'm trying the thing. I'm trying the nutrition thing. It's now around 3 p.m. and I'm headed back to the practice facility to support the team at practice. On most days, we have team practice in the morning around 10 a.m., but today it was pushed back. Normally that's a huge plus because I'll get to sleep in a bit and have a slow morning, but as you can see today, that was not the case. I arrived to the locker room around 3:20 and the rest of the team was finishing up their lift at this time. I can speak for most athletes that watching your team practice or play a game and not being able to be a part of it is one of the most gut-wrenching feelings. You immediately feel like an outsider to the group even though it's not the case. It is isolating and a terrible feeling. The staff here does a good job keeping me occupied, but of course they do it with every basketball player's worst enemy, conditioning that doesn't involve a basketball. I hate you. I don't like you. Today's conditioning workout consisted of 3 exercises. 1, an air bike sprint for 30 seconds. 2, hand release push-ups, 20 reps. 3, a ball handling burnout for 40 seconds. We did 4 rounds of this with a minute 30 seconds of rest in between each round.
I hate this. Why do we do this?
No, now I'm playing with you.
Oh, you said the roles are reversed?
Yeah,
I want you to tell me why we're doing this. Tell me why.
because you are injured. We want Bugatti keeps the rhythm. Come on, Bugatti.
Okay, I'll be a Bugatti. That's nice. You're a nice guy.
Honestly, I was pretty dead after this circuit, but it was decided that I should still burn out my arms even more with some on-court stationary ball handling. These drills were super simple and more or less focused on me keeping some of my touch and feel for the ball while I'm not being allowed to move more dynamically. Now, at this point in my rehab, I'm starting to feel much better, which is in turn making me hungrier and hungrier to get back on the court. This is the time where lots of athletes will want to skip steps because they begin to feel better. This is me to a T. But this time around, I'm treating this injury as an opportunity for me to show my growth and maturity by respecting the phases of rehab, so this injury doesn't pop up again later in the season. Team practice was finished and I was finally headed home for the day. I had spent over 5.5 hours at the facility, with the majority of it being in the weight room. I'm dog tired, and man, do I hate this weight room right now. This was a reminder that Lisbon traffic does not discriminate. All shall wait and get impatient no matter the circumstance. Another tough part about the timing of my injury is that my usual support system is not here. Normally my wife and 2 dogs live with me, but with the hecticness of the preseason, they are waiting until mid-October to fly out. It makes it harder to not have their company, but now more than ever, the nightly FaceTimes are important.
Like it?
I really do.
A little fade. It's not your normal response to my haircuts.
No, but it looks really good.
Hey!
I've been making these nightly mobility routines a habit, especially when the weather is nice. I find it so peaceful and pleasant on this balcony. It's just a simple nightly moment of calm. I settled down for the day with some housework and chefed up some dinner. Feel super good about where my diet has been since the injury, and I'm proud how I'm taking all the needed actions to promote recovery. When I'm doing everything I can to heal, it makes it harder to fall into the habit of worrying about potential scenarios. The path forward gets a bit uncertain, and so our minds want to fill that unknown with made-up scenarios with the intention to prepare us. This is a pitfall we must avoid. When we spend energy manufacturing future what-ifs, we are not just spending that energy, we are wasting it. That energy is much better used for your healing.
Yo, what's going on?
While eating dinner, I met some of my atypical team for brainstorming and merch launch planning. I know a lot of you have asked about how and where to buy merch, but just trust me, be patient. We are working on the next drop, and it's going to be light years better and more professional than the first one. I will say it's going to include the first t-shirt, so if you want that design, it's coming back. Having true passions outside of basketball has helped my ability to have perspective as to not get too consumed in the ups and downs of this basketball journey. I'm thankful that through my passion to serve the atypical community, you guys have unintentionally served me as well. I'm forever grateful. After the meeting, I called some more of my family back home. During emotional moments like injuries, it is essential to have your backbone of relationships to tap into to ease some of the stress. Again, I'm extremely grateful and blessed with mine.
Super long day, full of recovery, rehab, and all that good stuff. Checks every box today that I could possibly in order to promote the fastest and best recovery and rehab possible. That being said, I hope that you guys were able to learn a little bit in terms of my mindset regarding injuries, in terms of how I handle the emotions of the situation, and just the overall process in general. If you guys really like these day in the life vlogs and all the content I post, make sure you guys like and subscribe. There will be a lot more coming, and especially once I'm healthy, there'll be a lot more game day vlogs in the way. But yeah, I'm just thankful to have you guys. I'm really proud of this community we're building. So yeah, as always, get uncomfortable and live atypical. Cheers.
She got highs and lows. She said, yeah, I know. Wish I can make it easier. I can. I just know right and wrong.